holiday here. All right, you guys, it is July 9th. Did everybody have a good 4th of July holiday? Good. It was kind of weird in the middle of the week, right? Like it turned into an extended holiday, but kind of you worked every day. In addition, it wasn't like a real full day off. Now you need to give me back a little. There we go. Okay. Let's share some bucket fills. I'm hoping that some people are going to come in late today and that are still going to want to talk through their mid-year review because it's really important. And I feel like there's maybe a few people that are just sticking their head in the sand right now about their business. So hoping it's going to fill up. In the meantime, let's do some bucket fills. Who has a bucket to fill? Mike.
Sorry, we explain the purpose of this real quick.
Yeah, the purpose for a bucket fill is part of who we are as a company, is our culture. And our culture is, give back, abundance, creating culture within our communities. So it's who did something that showed culture in action or helped or whatever.
Okay. So a couple weeks ago, I think it was Friday, it was late in the day. I was stuck and I really needed some help. Really tried calling a couple people. I ended up reaching out for help. He was really helpful to respond, help me get and help me. Great.
Perfect bucket. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Alex? Anyone else? Bucket fill?
I got a few. So Jordy has been extremely great. Lauren.
Sorry, Stephanie.
Okay, sorry. Lauren, I've never switched with kids. Anyway, she has been amazing at helping all of us get the Red Bash done. So she has been. So appreciate that. Yep. And then
Thank you.
Sean for his help with my commercial bill that I knew nothing about, and he's always there to, okay, here, let's do this. Okay, here, let's do that. So
Handling with just the calmness.
yeah, and knowledge.
Love it.
Knowledge.
Love it. Love it. Good bucket fill.
Woo! I'm gonna second Mike's thing. So me and Mike talked, and I think it was more like a Saturday or Sunday. I don't think it was a Friday.
Right.
Yeah. And he was like, I'm stuck, and he talked through his, what I would call his technical issue, and we all know how techie I am. And I'm like, I can't help you. But he was in the middle of trying to get a contract done or something with a client, so this was kind of urgent. And I thought, who would know how to do this? And I thought Alex, and I reached out to Alex and asked if it was okay. And Alex was like, well, duh, of course. And literally Mike texted me back like 20 minutes later, thank you so much, all handled. Like he was all like within 30 minutes. It was awesome.
Okay,
So
thanks, Alex. Love it, love it. Anyone else? Wants and needs. Let's talk about what new listings do we have coming up? New listings, price reductions.
So I have one coming active in Thatcher. Yeah, and it will possibly be a short sale. So if anyone's looking for hopefully short sale, it's a half an acre, almost half an acre, 0.46. It will 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. Yeah, 1 garage.
Do you know about what your price is gonna be on it? I know you're still working through it.
Right around the 400. We're hoping to get a little bit more than 400, but we're still working on all the back end stuff.
Pricing? Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. That'll be a good one. Anybody looking for some land? That's a great one. Steph?
I have the one I was talking about last week. We did go over there. We're gonna be right about 5, South Ogden. And then 4 bedroom, 3 baths, 2 3/4 bath, but and it's really cute. He went through and redid everything. It looks like a totally different.
Wait, how cute is it?
So
It's so cute.
super cute.
And you said around the 5?
Yeah. Yeah, 2-car garage, multi-level.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Who else?
Oh, it is.
I'm
I'm Jeanette. I'm actually with the Salt Lake office, and I'm here for this part, and I'm
Love
also super excited that I got to land it on a gold refresh day too, so I'm excited. I have one in Sunset.
Okay.
It is 5 bedrooms, 2 baths. 1,800 square feet. Just shy of a quarter acre, 0.23 acres. 1-car garage. And I'm kind of near boat. We might be short sale. We're close. She only bought it a couple of years ago and got transferred. So she's pretty tight on numbers. Right now, we're listed at 432,500.
Okay.
It's a little bit rough inside, so we should be a little bit closer to 420 to be honest. But I just need some help or even alternate ways of what to do. I'm just here for help.
Okay. Awesome. Help in pricing, help in showings, help in
Showing alternative ways to sell it, get it on the market, and if we have to go short sell, I guess that's, it's not what you want to do, but if there's anybody has creative ways and
Is it an assumable loan?
it is, but it's not that great of an interest rate, so would it be worth it?
Is it better than interest rates?
Yeah, I think a little bit, not much.
Okay.
Around 6%.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not gonna do right. Cool.
No.
Okay, awesome. If you wanna send the MLS number out, then we can put on our private Facebook page.
Oh, Okay, awesome, thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you. So, well, new listing.
It is.
I have one, it's my Clinton house, we just reduced the price to $835,900. Beautiful home, 2-story. 6 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, basement's almost fully finished, just needs to finish the bathroom down there. And it's plumbed for a kitchen, it's got fully paid off solar panels, huge RV parking, if you need someone that needs RV parking, it's like almost 100-foot cement pad. An RV, just professionally landscaped yard, really beautiful home, built in 2020. And like, what? Like, Clinton. That's a mistake. Okay, who else? Any other new listings? Any buyers that you need a little magic unicorn for that isn't listed?
I've got one of those too.
Okay.
They're looking for at least a quarter acre, up to 475. With RV parking and possibly a space in the back for a 2 to 3 car garage.
I was gonna say.
I was gonna say, you want to go to the back?
It does, there is RV parking, there's they have right now 3 goats, 9 chickens, they had 4 dogs, got rid of 2 dogs. Fenced in, and there's a whole side, like RV parking would be, when you go live deal. I can start working with you right now, I have the exclusive right to sell, so.
Perfect.
We
Okay,
can,
let's talk.
if we can
Love
get it taken care of before we have to even.
Before we,
pay.
yep, okay, that'd
I'm
be beautiful. Love it, thanks. Justin, you raised your hand, you
I
have a
have
fire?
a bucket too.
Okay, let's hear it.
I came to a meeting, the team meeting, and I found a potential buyer for my list. I'm grateful to be here. This opportunity, what a big deal, that's huge. The big
Which is why we're all a big family, whether it's a different market center, a
Yeah.
different state, a different country. I have an idea for Europe.
Okay, thank you.
Justin,
I have a basement rental available, 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom in South Ogden. Probably like $1,200.
that's cheap.
Yeah,
2 bed, 1 bath.
yep.
And it's in South Ogden.
Well, it's in Washington Terrace, but I like to say South Ogden.
More bougie.
And this is Justin's,
And it's
and
really
I
cute
also
from
have
pictures.
a rental coming up,
No, it's-
unless Addison convinces me that you should live in it. 2-1, also in Washington Terrace, it's an upstairs unit, and it is 1,500.
I mean, she could come to me and save some money.
Well, she's trying to work a deal with mom. So. Okay, is there any wants and needs online?
Marcos has a listing in North Ogden.
Okay,
It's
What do
a
we need to know?
4-bed, 3 bath. just over 2,200 square feet. Has a 2-car garage.
Nice. What's the price? Bring your own price.
Yeah,
BYOT. How much?
4,600. 46.
460.
460,000.
Okay,
Oh,
like,
I was like, that was sold. Done. Who's gonna get their offer in first? I still have my Syracuse house, guys. It's so cute. And I have no idea why it's still there, but it is so cute. So 660,
one
one
level.
level. It's adorable. So please bring me a buyer. It's
Are you
so
getting
cute.
showings on it, Steph?
We are getting showings on it.
What's the feedback?
The road was closed for a while, so that was the biggest feedback on it. Other than that, it doesn't have a basement. Why it's one level?
Yeah.
Say it.
What's your price?
650, we just dropped it. But it is so cute, and it's on almost an acre, so 0.83. It has 3-car garage. You could use it as a 4th car if you took the man cave out. I love the man cave. I think that's awesome. Or woman cave, whatever. The cave.
A maze, because I put 2 words together and we got it already. So it's a maze.
Yeah, it's amazing, but it's cute. I mean, you got the whole back acreage with no neighbors.
Steph, you may want to reach out to like people who do one levels like Ovation, Nielsen, that specialize in lot and patio homes, because they don't do anything with the size of a lot. All of their lots are small. So you may want to reach out to them and ask them like, hey, do you ever have people that come in and want a one level, but that are looking for a larger lot? Would you consider showing them this one or letting them know about it?
Okay.
It's just an idea. I mean, it doesn't hurt to have a conversation.
Price range in the other surrounding towns that have been showing a lot,
Yeah,
but
but not in
in
Syracuse.
But not with the acreage.
Yeah.
And that's a unique buyer, right? 'Cause, like,
Right.
a lot of times with the one level, they want no maintenance yard.
Yeah.
So that's where like you're not gonna be competing with them for their client, because it's a 2 totally different
Right.
buyers. So it's probably worth a conversation. I've got a contact with Ovation if you want to.
Yes.
Okay, anyone else on wants and needs?
Could it be non-listing related?
Yeah.
I'm curious about Twilio. I signed up for that, but I read in there that you can convert a Google Voice number to Twilio. I'm just wondering if you use the Google Voice capability to do that.
Alex,
Pardon?
I don't even know if that's, I've never heard that. You've heard that, Lauren Bradley?
I don't know.
Can you research on it? Let's have us research, because I didn't know, I've never heard that you could convert it to Google Voice, because I don't even think Twilio is like a calling option. So I don't know how it would use that same number.
It's a phone number.
That's
So
wrong.
from command, like we have to use that, so that's really just a texting service.
So the problem is it uses the out of area number to do the text, which shouldn't be anything in the power, and it's also from Logan. So the number that I showed. I'd like to get something, at least in the 801 area code, preferably my own number.
So do you have a Google Voice?
I do.
And that's the 435?
No.
And what's the Truly, so Truly has
Trulia has something like that. It's like
Twilio?
45.
Command texting numbers, we have several Google Voices, and
Twilio.
yeah,
Twilio.
sorry, yeah. We,
If you sign up for it right directly through,
Right, I know what Twilio is. What I'm saying is, I don't know that you can connect it to a Google Voice. I'm not sure. It depends on, will you do some research on that one? Yeah, let's figure out what we're trying to do, and then Bradley can do some research. Okay, anything else?
that made me think of another need, I need a landscaper who can mow the lawn on my sunset place regularly.
Send me your info again and I can put this in there too. If anybody has somebody that wants to take care of yard for the summer, it's a little thing for the kids, right? Probably will you pop on that again? Okay, coming up this week, we've got tech trainings on Tuesday and Thursday. Today is goal setting and recording your activities. Thursday is campaign. Lauren, Bradley, what do you want to say about it?
Come join us.
Be there.
It's fun 75 hard.
Okay.
We're not boring. You'll just come hang out with us and learn a good thing. It's actually like, even if you know some things about each topic, we'll teach you more. We'll teach you different ways to handle it, and more creative ways to use command. So
Love it.
And it's a lot more fun when people show up. Like last week, Sherry came and taught us a lot about Twilio.
Yeah, we learned at our training.
Okay, awesome. Collaboration helps that happen. Ignite is 5 to 8 tonight. Make and receive offers with the one and only Justin Yoder. And negotiate the deals for and Rhonda Burden. That's a fantastic lineup, you guys. I don't know why you wouldn't be in the room tonight. On Thursday, it's Get to the Close with Sean Janke and Plan Your Future. Unfortunately, Rusty Edwards is unavailable because God, family, then business, and my son has a baseball game that I didn't know about because he's on the like superstar team after his rec stuff ended, and so Troy Callentine, we're gonna have special guest appearance by the celebrity Troy Callentine. So he's gonna do Plan Your Future on Thursday. And then tomorrow we have a monthly squad mastermind for your listing presentation, which is gonna be 1 to 2 with Allison Brown. So you guys, I'm hearing a lot of like, we wanna collaborate more, we wanna know what other people are doing for their listing presentation. So come to that mastermind tomorrow, 1 to 2. Bring your listing presentation with you. Don't be shy, guys. Like if you can't sit in front of one of your peers and have a listing conversation, how are you gonna do that in front of your clients? Practice in front of your peers, not in front of your clients. And then NWAR has their boat and barbecue on Friday from 9 to 4 at Pineview. You did need to RSVP for this for lunch, but if you haven't, you could probably call and sweet talk to me. My guess is she'd probably still like come. Parking's $20. On Friday, the 19th, here at the office, we're gonna have just an appreciation picnic. One of the things that we have heard from you guys is you want to collaborate more with each other just in ways that are fun, not necessarily for a purpose. So the purpose is getting together and appreciating each other and having a good time. So come hungry and ready to partay. You can RSVP here so we know how many people to plan for. A couple people have asked me if they can bring their kids. Absolutely. No, I'm never going to turn them away.
As long as they're not little and screaming.
If they're little and screaming, then Justin is gonna be mean about it. Okay,
Yeah.
Allison, what do you wanna say about this?
So it's gonna be, it's real estate foundations. So there's 5 strategies that we use in business to thrive in today's market. So you can come join us for that class. It's also a really good class for anybody that you know that's a new agent, whether they're at our brokerage or not. Or even if they're not a new agent, it's just a good class for people anywhere. If they register and show up and you send them there, then I keep track of that and they'll go under your profit share tree if they join.
Okay, you can RSVP right here and I'll also share that link. We're just really wanna make sure you know that you are officially invited to the squad mastermind
invited.
tomorrow. Bring your listing presentation if you have one. If you don't, still just come, be ready to share tips and leave with takeaways. One thing that I'm gonna say about listing presentation and also about your buyer consultation strategy session. I think that in the last few years, we've been able to be maybe a little bit lazy with this. I've heard a lot of you say like, oh, I don't really use the listing consultation or I don't usually use the presentation. I just kind of talk. If you don't have something to keep you on track, I'm gonna highly suggest that you start utilizing something. This is a topic of a ton of podcasts that I listen to. A lot of top teams throughout the country are going really back into a very informative, just crystal clear presentation for both buyers and sellers. Again, I think when the market is hopping and it's really good and things are moving quickly, it's easier to be a little bit lazier and you can walk in if they like you like them. You probably could get an agreement signed. I think we're gonna all work a little bit harder for that. So
All about like knowing people's expectations and knowing if you can meet them and then also setting your own expectations.
absolutely.
Right, I did get a listing, I had a competing listing, last year, we did it because of listing.
Ooh, I hope you're coming, Jenny.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to at least, it's really important to at least know like what you need to be saying and how you're saying it and have something. And Allison, I love that you touched on expectations because I'm in conversation right now with someone who their listing expired. They were referred to me by someone else. And their biggest complaint is that their agent wouldn't do an open house. And that was one of their expectations. And that wasn't part of the agent's marketing plan. And the agent had a lot of reasons for that, but in their head, that was why the house hadn't sold. We all know that's probably not why. It's probably because you started out significantly overpriced. But at the end of the day, like if that's a conversation up front, they could have made a decision on whether or not they were gonna hire that person based on that, or that person may have been able to give better expectations versus going into it and then saying, hey, that's not something that I offer. So it's really great to do expectations. And like we've shared that list, the 189 things you do as an agent. If you're not gonna do those things, you need to revise the list, because if they have a
Make it
list in front of them
187.
that has these things on it and you have zero intention of doing those, it's all about expectations and expectations met, right?
Well, if that agent didn't know that ahead of time from the expectations meeting, like, they may have chosen not to, like, referred it to any other agent who's a killer open house
Yes.
agent and not spent money on photos, et cetera, et cetera. It wasn't just like, oh, I'll just take the list. Well,
Right.
better to not take the listing and disappoint everyone.
Yep.
And give
And that agent still then would have had a referral fee versus being out the marketing dollars and it's everyone's in the market. So,
Well, at the end of the day, you do work for your client. They wanted to open house. There's.
Or
Whether
find
you want.
Do
to or
it,
not,
or find someone who,
yeah.
or find someone else
the
to-
bar is this high to be,
Yeah.
like, I hear those stories and it just kills me, like, that's all you have to do to make a happy client.
Well, and you could end
Post an open
this by asking the question in the listing presentation.
Seriously.
So come and mastermind with us on Wednesday. Okay, 75 hard. We're gonna do our first week's drawing. I'm curious who started 75 hard? Who finished 75 hard this week? Couple of you. Okay, did everybody get the accountability pieces into? Bradley, do you want to explain? Does everyone know how they should let you know that they're participating and eligible for the weekly drawing?
Yeah, so each week at the end of the week, I'll send out an email with the form just to fill out saying that you completed it for that week. If you can do it by Friday or Monday before team meeting, you'll be entered into this drawing and we'll celebrate you today.
Okay, so this is a choose your own adventure type of a day on the gift, because I had one idea, Sean had another idea, and then Justin said, well, why don't we let us pick? And I said, great idea.
I had the best idea, is that what you said? That's what I heard.
So a couple options for today's win. This book, Your First Home, you can order these through Keller Inc. You can order them in bulk. We do have them in office as well if you want to have Chris add them to your AR. I will tell you that the Larkin Group out of St. George holds a monthly buyers webinar or seminar that if they come and it's their first time that they've attended, they give them this book for free. So that's how they're advertising that, is come to this webinar, no strings attached. We're going to feed you. And by the way, you get a free book. So we have an option for that. We have an option for the one thing, because I'm going to talk a little bit about this today, and then just good old Starbucks, because if you need fuel, you need fuel, and you probably need fuel for free. So, Sean, do you want to draw the name?
Sure.
So I'm not going to.
Oh,
You pick two.
Mike Layton.
Okay, Mike, which
show up.
choice?
Well,
You want to think about it and let me know? Okay, sounds good. Let me know. If you, and remember, the big thing that's making this 75 kind of hard versus really hard is that every single week you get a fresh start to start over. So everyone who continues to participate, your name will stay in, like, so if you participate again this week, you're gonna have two, you're gonna have one for every single week. But if you miss 1 week, you can still start back up the next week. So keep that in mind, just because you missed it once doesn't mean it's forever. This was, I just wanted to have this, you guys can scan this QR code. You can also find this information in Command. But there's an open house video. I got asked about this literally just today on how to handle open houses. There's a 1-page guide and there's FAQs. We're putting together, this goes into effect next month. We're putting together some team meetings that are going to have some more information around this as well. But for now, download these resources. The 1-page guide is a quick reference guide. FAQs is like 4 pages or 5 pages of frequently asked questions. I have not been asked a question yet that wasn't on the frequently asked questions page. And not to say we still don't want to have those conversations with you, we do, but sometimes you need actual ammunition in your like ammo belt to be able to say like, oh, here's the exact answer from NAR. Okay, so that's available for you right here. Mega Agent Camp, who's going to Mega Agent Camp? And who has a story of something that Mega Agent Camp has done for your business? Does anybody have anything?
And you get back, it's like your business just pounces. saying.
If you haven't come to Mega Agent Camp, the hotel deadline, those hotel discounts end on July 27th. A lot of them are already full. You can register using this link. I'm gonna just tell you, if you don't want to stay at a host hotel, there's actually way more affordable options right now just on Expedia that are still within walking distance to the convention center. So if you're pulling this up and you're like, I don't want to stay in the Omni for $300 a night, that's not my budget. Find a different hotel. There was tons of options still available on Expedia.
Or get a hotel mate.
Or get a hotel mate, right? Like find a roommate. If you guys are adventurous, I see people all the time on some of the Keller Williams pages saying like, I'm coming from this state. I want to collaborate with somebody and share a room. So there's a lot of ways to get there that are affordable. Southwest, I got an email today that was having their $59 sale, fair sale. I don't know if that flies to Boston or not, but there's a lot of options to get there. Mega Agent Camp, there's actually this mega agent sitting on stage with Gary being interviewed, and they give their little one pagers or their playbooks. So that in itself is super valuable. If you see something someone's doing and they're like, oh, you like what I'm doing? Here you go. And you they hand it to you. It's literally a downloadable thing that you will have for document. Oh, speaking of that, if anyone needs 75 hard information, I have it right here. One pagers. So anyway, if you haven't gone to Mega Camp before, I would consider signing up for it. It's coming up the 12th to the 15th of August. Family reunion, we already talked about this last week, but it's in Vegas again, 17th through 21st. Tickets are available now. As you know, once Mega Camp's over, the price of this will start going up. Insider tip, I'd get your hotel room now versus waiting till the end of Mega Camp. This I just wanted to share with you a podcast, the Millionaire Real Estate Podcast. As you guys know, and I think Christy mentioned last week too, she listens to a podcast. I listen to a podcast every morning. This is in my regular rotation. These are phenomenal interviews, you guys. So take a minute, fuel your brain in the morning. Here's a couple of other ones. Think like CEO, The Color of Money, and Empire Building podcast. I've listened to these ones pretty consistently for several years now. And then one of my other favorites is the One Thing podcast. Those are all really great. I just want to give a little shout out for KW Cares Month. We originally had a goal of $287,000. We raised $357,442 in the month for Mosley's birthday.
Yeah, shave his head.
Yay! What'd you say?
He had to shave his head.
Yeah.
Michael's
Yeah.
for getting.
So he did volunteer to get his head shaved if we met the goal and made so good job. And then also 168 market centers met the goal of 870 for most people. Make sure all your calls you're doing them in a TCPA friendly compliant way. This is just telling you how to check those. Make sure that you, before calling or texting, confirm the number through one of those venues. If you have any questions, you should be getting emails about this, but also reach out to brokers. Any other announcements? I think I was at the podcast for that last part. Okay, we're going to talk about goal setting, but one of the things that I want to do first is I'm going to pull something out of this One Thing book, and we're going to do a little bit different when we're talking about our goal reset and just hitting the halfway point. So yesterday on our growth call through Keller Williams International, KWRI has a weekly growth call that all their team leaders are on. And Cody Gibson was talking about Lou Holtz, something. He's a famous sportsy guy. But he has the quote that says, because it's easy, but I'm like, butcher it unintentionally. Just 1 second. The quote is, how you respond to the challenge in the second half will determine what you become after the game, whether you are a winner or whether you are a loser. Now, we're not like winners or losers in this game. We're just all in different phases of our journey. But I think that's really important to remember because everybody can shoot out of the gates January 1, super excited about their goals and where they're going and what they're going to do. And we have this beautiful plan in place on how we're going to get there. And then somewhere along the way, something's going to come that's going to get us off track. Now, it may not keep us off track forever, and we may stay perfectly on track, but there's going to be something along the way that will derail us. And so it's really important to take the time to be reflecting regularly. But I especially like this mid-year point because we still have a lot of road ahead of us for the rest of the year. And we have a lot of time to change or affect how we end this year, whether we end it proud of what we did and how we accomplished it, or whether we end it walking into next year and thinking, man, I wish I could have done something a little bit different. We still have so much time to affect how we end this year. So we're gonna do a little bit of reflection, but I wanted to bring it around to the one thing a little bit. And I'm just gonna put some circles on here. And I want you to take the time, if you have not done this exercise, and in the One Thing podcast, I'll share it out in our weekly recap. But he actually talks about doing this as part of the end of year process. And then the importance of revisiting it along the way to say, like, where are you at compared to where you were? And are we getting better or worse in each one of these areas? So have you guys all heard of the 7 circles? Okay, so all these circles, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Every one of these this is for your spiritual life. This is for, in the book, it says physical health. We're just changing this more to health, both mental and physical. Personal life. Your key relationship. Your job. Your business. Who can tell me the difference between your job and your business?
A big difference, your business is, more of the financial side and how you, the back side of things and how you plan for your future and run it as a business. And your job is how you're performing for your clients, I think.
Yeah, it's your job is what you're doing, and is the action that you're doing, and your business is what you're building, and that's your financial piece around it, and then your financial life. And then ask yourself in each area, what is the one thing that by doing this makes everything else in that area easier and necessary. The reason I want to start right here today is because in the one thing they talk about balance and counterbalance, right? Balance, you're never going to be perfectly balanced. If you have big, huge financial goals for the year, chances are you might be putting a lot of emphasis around this spot for this year. And that might mean that you're looking at some of these other balls and saying, you know what? I'm going to put so much energy into this, but I know I'm doing pretty good here. So I can let the gas off a little bit here because I'm spending time here. Right? And then you're going to hit a point where it's maybe you're going to look back out of that and go, am I out of balance again? Do I need to counterbalance? And maybe now I got to come back over to this side. So it's the way I think of this is, and you guys are, some of you are younger than me, so maybe you never played on a teeter-totter in like a park, right? Teeter-totter.
Those aren't
The
safe
old school ones,
anymore.
they're not safe anymore, but man, did we play on. So when I think of this, I think of how do you, when you're, because the idea of a teeter-totter is one side goes up and the other side goes down, right? It's a constant kind of game of balance. And I have brothers, and brothers can be jerks. And the goal on the teeter-totter of my brothers was who could slam the other person to the ground first, right? And in my head, that's what I think of when I think of like keeping it in balance and counterbalance. Sometimes you're going to be spending way more energy and you're up at the top, but how do you soften that bounce back up? And that's what I kind of think of when I'm thinking of balance and counterbalance, because it's never just going to be, it's boring if you're sitting there, just both of you on the teeter-totter staring at each other. That's not what the purpose of the teeter-totter is, right? That's also not the purpose of a full life. It's just to be at this even till all the time. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. So how do we recover quicker when we hit the ground, and how do we make that bounce softer so we're bouncing back up the other side of the teeter-totter a little bit quicker? So one thing that I'm going to encourage you to do, and we're going to walk through a couple of other things that we're just going to evaluate as we're going through here. But one of the things that I really want you to be thinking through as you enter in to this half of the year, I'm going to pull up my notes. I really, really want you to think through, and you can grade yourself 1 to 10 on these things and say, in my spiritual life, where am I grading myself? And I had a 1 and I had a goal of being at a 5. And what can I do to make those adjustments? Am I at a 10, But by me strengthening my spiritual relationship with my higher being, did that take away from some of my other key relationships, and how can I go back in and restrengthen those? So take a minute in each one of these areas as you're reflecting, because these are all important. Not every single one of these is job related though, guys, right? Job, business, finances, 3 of the 4 have to do with your business. And that's what we're going to talk about is evaluating those areas. But I think it's really important to take the time that you're also evaluating these other things. Because if the only thing that you're doing every day is waking up and trying to figure out how to grind in business, you are not going to have a very fulfilled life. And I think that's where a lot of overwhelm comes from. That's where a lot of disappointment comes from. It's where a lot of these pieces that get you totally sideways come from, because you forgot about some of those key relationships and how important they were to you. Or you forgot about your personal life. Like, when was the last time you just did something that you loved to do just because you love to do it? Not because it was connected to something work related, right? So I want you to take some time as you're thinking through these to grade yourself in each area. And it's okay if we're looking at the halfway point of the year and we're saying, man, I've done really good in this area, but this area really needs some attention. And now how do we refocus and shift the energy and part of our strategy towards being better in a specific area that we had outlined as important to us, right? So a couple things that I want you to do. Bradley, sorry, I talked too long. Thank you. I want you to think through, so where are you at this point of the year? So think through your beginning of the year goals, or maybe you set them at the end of last year. And I want you to really grade yourself 1, 2, 3. Don't raise your hand. Just want you to be thinking about it personally. Are you ahead of your goal? And if so, I want you to know, how much are you ahead of it? Are you right on target? So you're like, man, I am doing exactly as I thought I was going to do. My strategies are working. It's just continuing to do what I'm doing. I'm in cruise control. And now I've got some other areas of time that I can focus in. And then I want you to think, if you're 1, 2, or 3, and you can just, again, you're just judging yourself in your head. Number 3 is you're behind. And I want you to think about yourself. Are you behind drastically? Are you just behind a little bit? So if you had a goal of closing 100 transactions this year and you closed 4, my guess is you're probably going to be number 3A, which is I'm drastically behind.
I looked at it, and I just did a little, I'm like,
If you have a goal of closing 100 transactions and halfway through the year, you're at 40, in my opinion, you're just a little behind. You're 3B. If you had a goal of 100 transactions and we're halfway through the year and we're at 65, yay, we're ahead. And how much are we ahead by? Right, we're ahead by 20% or so. Before we get super excited about any of these, the other thing I want you to do is take a little bit of time and evaluate what are your trends in your personal business. So I had a conversation with an agent at a mid-year point last year, and she was super excited because she was way ahead of her goal for the, like, in her head, she had divided it in half, and she was way ahead of the goal for the year. And as we started just diving a little deeper to determine, like, this is awesome, and now how do we continue this momentum moving forward? We discovered some things about her business, and that there was seasonality in her business that was different than everyone else's seasonality, in the fact that she usually did about 80% of her business in the first 6 months of the year. And then typically October, November really didn't have any closings. There was a lot of travel that happened around that time. There was a lot of different things that she was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. I never really thought about it. I was just looking at the numbers, like not looking at it in a graph. So take the time to really think about your multi-year trend reports. And if you don't know where to find those, see Chris after, because I don't know if they're still if they're updated to command yet. But so mykw.kw.com reports, pull your multi-year trend. If you're a new agent, just be aware that there will be trends. So pay attention to that. You'll still be able to pull your trends for this year and see, did I have consistently closings January, February, March, but now I'm in a lull, right? So we're taking the time to really evaluate what we're doing and why we're doing it. And it's important to do a mid-year check because it helps us decide, do we need to reset our goal? Do we need to reset our strategies? Or do we need to just actually execute on the plan that we originally had? Does that make sense? So I want you to consider a couple things when you're reflecting on these goals. So go back in time 6 months ago. Were we clear on the end? Are we clear on the end result? So did you have clarity around what your goal was? Because this is one thing that a lot of times people will just throw out a number, but there's no actual substance behind the number or data on how they're going to get there or whatever. It's just like, I want to double my business this year. That's great. Tell us how we're going to get there or why that's important or what that's going to look like, right? So this is looking at, all right, do you have clarity around what the result of the goal is? And then I also, as you're thinking of these things, I want you to decide if you're in the right mindset to be objective and fair, to have a real clear conversation with yourself.
And realistic.
And realistic. And if you can't have that conversation with yourself, because there tends to be two sides of people. There's the people who are very generous to themselves and tell themselves all the reasons why it was okay that they didn't hit the goal. And I'm not saying this, no judgment, not saying right or wrong, but there's people who are overly generous to themselves in the goal setting category. And they go, well, I just set this huge goal anyway. I didn't really ever plan on hitting it. It was just this big, huge, audacious goal. And so they kind of let themselves off the hook. Or there's the other side of that where people are really, really hard on themselves and you're actually not looking at any of your wins and you're not looking at the seasonality and you're not being objective with yourself. So with that, I would ask you, are you in the right mindset to be objective and fair? And if you're not, phone a friend. This is where someone that can look as a third party looking at your business is very helpful because they can come in and look at it with a different lens. They're not looking at it through the lens of whatever was going on in your personal life at the time. They're not looking at it through a lens. They're just looking at the facts. The numbers tell us a story. They're just helping you look at the story to determine what that is. Number 3, when you're thinking through your goals for the year, I want you to identify I want you to think about if you've identified the KPIs to achieving the goal. KPI, what is that? Key performance indicator. Those are our little check marks along the way that are going to tell us if we're heading the right direction. Right? So our key performance indicator may be that we've been tracking appointments and we're on track with the appointments. That's a key performance indicator that we're making the right amount of appointments. Right? So identify what those are and do you have the right ones? Have you identified them and are they the right things? Number 4 is, do you have the right support team around you? This goes beyond just your work team, your leadership team. This is who is in your corner cheering you on at home. Who is your friend group? Is your friend group the friend group that's going to let you out of your goals and just go, it's fine, let's go to brunch instead? Or are they going to be like, hey, Kayla, you told me this was really important to you and I want to support your goals. So what if we got together and instead of going to brunch and drinking mimosas, which is, I'd much rather do that every day, we're going to make 30 calls together first and then we're going to go do it. So when I talk about your right support team, it's an extension of the office. It's the people that are around you. It's the cheerleaders that are in your corner. It's your kids knowing that that goal is important to you. It is, do you need to hire someone? And that's part of your support team, right? So this is thinking through that. Do you have the right support team around you? And then are you in an environment that supports your goal? And I want you to think through all those things because all of these things have to come together for you to be able to hit your goals, right? You've got to be clear. You've got to be walking into a mindset that you're objective and you're being fair to yourself. You have to identify the KPIs. You have to have the right support team and you have to have the right environment. Because if you're an environment that's pulling you down and not supporting your goal, it is going to be really hard to be the fish swimming upstream, right? If you've got people that are just like, nah, it doesn't matter. Who cares? You make really good money. But if it's not making you happy or the goal is like connecting with you, and this can be, guys, this is business we're talking about right here. But maybe one of your big things this year was your physical health or your mental health. And you made a goal and you said, I want to do this year. This is physically what I'm going to do. And you have somebody in your environment that's constantly like, don't go run, don't eat better, and it's not supporting you here. That's an environment that's not supporting your goals, right? So I'm going to challenge you to really think through, because sometimes our knee-jerk reaction when we get halfway through the year is to say, like, we're not gonna, we can't hit the goal anyway. And so who cares? we're gonna try again next year. Guys, this is true. I hear it all the time. There's no way I'm gonna hit that goal. So I'm just gonna, you know what, 2025 is gonna be my year. And then they just start already throwing 2024 out the window. Oh my gosh, I've never seen it worse than I did in 2020, but it's become a trend that just carried over, that it was like, thank God 2020 is over. Woo, 2021. Guess what? Today can be the new energy of today. It doesn't have to wait for a year to turn. You're the same person when that clock strikes midnight on January 1st, 2025, that you are sitting there on December 31st, 2024. Nothing magical happens. No little fairy comes along and changes your whole attitude. And the unicorn doesn't come shooting out of the sky, shooting rainbows out of its horns and changing who you are. So make the decision to decide what you're gonna do and do it now. Don't wait for this magical turn of the year. Sherry,
It was just easier to reset your whole year as if July 15th even, so that even if you're preparing now as if it's October, November, December, or July 15th, just to say, oh my God, like as of July 15th, like that's my January 1st, even if it feels more mentally easier to reset the entire year, which is kind of where I'm feeling like.
yeah. Well, and you're not alone. This is what I say, like a lot of people have that mindset, like, oh, I wanted to do this year, but I'm not getting there, so I'm just gonna wait.
No, but that way you don't shit on yourself.
Yep, exactly. And guess what? Let's say that you have a GPS that you did at the beginning of the year and you no longer are connected to anything on that GPS. There is nothing right now that says you can't have a GPS for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Nobody's telling you that typically is a 1-year plan. The 4-in-1 is typically a 1-year goal, 1 month, 4 weeks. Guys, this is your life. It's your rules. You can have that be a 6-month goal for the rest of the year. You could start from nothing right now and still hit your goals or change and hit them how you need to. Jen.
I wanted to say 2 things. First, like, so the one thing, I've always thought of that as like, why am I doing this as a business as a whole? But this last year, I feel like it was something Marcus said. I had my business like doing this lead source, doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this. And then I thought, what the heck am I doing? I feel like I'm all over the place. What is the one thing I really thrive at? And then what is the one lead source that is my favorite? You know, it's just, I had to simplify my business because it became so overwhelming. Trying to do everything because you see so many people that are so skilled in so many different areas. You don't have to be good at all of them. Find the ones that are the most fun.
Also, one thing that I want to say along those same lines, and we're going to go down a couple of rabbit trails, I feel like, with this one today, but one thing I want to say along the same lines is it is really easy right now to look at what other people are doing and be like, well, she's doing it. Why can't I do that?
Yeah.
He's doing it. Why can't I do it? I encourage you to take one step. Like, she's doing it. Could you do it? Sure. Are you willing to give up what that person gave up to do that, to be there? Or, and maybe the answer is yes, maybe it's no, right? But I think it's really easy, and in the world of social media, everybody tells their highlight reels. Kaylee, I love you because you could tell it's not highlight reels lately. But everybody shows their highlight reels, right? Which is fun because we want to share fun things, but it's really easy to look at somebody's highlight reel and be like, man, I wish I could be like so-and-so, but you don't see what's going on behind the scenes. You don't see what else they have going. And are you willing, because there's a lot of people that are super successful, guys. And I'll tell you what, I would rather be homeless than have the type of relationship that they have with their family. Okay, because I'm not willing to sacrifice that to get this. So you got to look at that and just say, not only should you not try to do everything, because you're like, everybody's doing everything really well. First of all, guarantee you they've done the same thing. They just have other things that, like, people are working different things. Right. But for you, what makes sense for you in your world? Like, guys, we're not in competition with each other. This is about ourselves. It's a life by design. So if a life by design looks to you like you close 30 transactions a year and you are happy as hell in some of these other areas, I'm going to freaking applaud you. And if a life by design looks like you close 10, I'm going to applaud you. If a life by design means that you have extra money and that's how you pay to go to Disneyland, and that is your only goal, I don't care. Like, it's your life by design. It's nobody else's. So don't come in with these big crazy goals. And if you did, I'd encourage you to just take a step back and say, like, because the thing is, like, never change the plan, or change the plan, never the goal. There are times you might need to change the goal. If you walked into the goal and you didn't really have context behind what that was gonna look like or what it was gonna take, it might warrant changing the goal. That's not your first go-to though. It's to look at the plan. We set this goal and this was our plan. And now we've got to look at it through reality's lens. Knowing what we know today, 6 months future from when we set those goals, has anyone's life changed a little bit? Does it look a little different?
Yeah.
Am I the one group that's like, what, this is not what 2024 was gonna look like?
Right.
Okay, so everybody, like, I don't think there's anybody that's like, this is exactly what I thought this was going to look like. Bravo, great job. And that doesn't mean we're not hitting our goals, but that might mean we need to look at the plan. So let's flip through today's lens and say, when we set our goal, we had this, and these were some of the thoughts that we had and how we thought we were going to get there. Does that still make sense? Or do we need to change the plan? Or do we need to change the goal? Because this is the real question you've got to ask yourself.
The other thing is we've all been doing it. We've been doing it for a really long time, some of us, and come to us if you have questions or concerns or how in the hell did you make it through, having a child that was very busy, like we can help you guys. So you're not doing it by yourself. We're here to help you. We can tell you what we've done to help make situations better. So,
I love that.
yeah.
Sorry. Dalton.
Did you ever comment?
Yeah, I think if there's something to take from this as well, then like, it's as important to do this kind of work when things are going well.
Yeah.
Cause I starved through May and then like June, I don't know what happened, but that's what I'm in the process of doing as long as I keep it all, when I get the backside of the insanity. Figure out how that came together and build a playbook that we can replicate with.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's why I had you at the beginning say, are you 1, 2, or 3? Are you ahead of your goal? Because if you are, how did you get there? And how do you keep doing more of it? Because that tells me like you came up with some really good strategies. That's not luck. You're not just ahead because you got lucky this year. That was great strategies and you're implementing them. So that might mean like this is what we needed it to look like. That's why we wanted it to look this way. And now how do we replicate it? And maybe we give us a little bit of freedom to say, you know what? We're on track here. And I knew this was going to take a big push through the first part of the year and we're ahead of our goal. And now I've got to focus on my health because that was something that was also important to me this year. But I knew the first half was going to really be pushing on this. Right. And what's the one thing? Because it may be like, you know what? Maybe I don't have time to just completely quit everything else I'm doing, work out 6 hours a day and meal prep. That might change our health really quick, but that may also not be realistic. So is there one thing that you could add in that's going to help get those habits moving in the right direction? So I want you to think through if you can't default to changing the goal, but do a reality check. So have you already achieved the goal? We just talked about that. Have you learned more about the goal? So this could be a great reason for the adjustment, right? If there was something that happened that you were like, okay, this was my goal. And now I've realized that my price point was way higher. So I'm actually ahead of my goal based on my GCI that I wanted to earn, but not on my unit count. So how do you make that adjustment and what does that look like, right? So now maybe we need to increase our gross commission income. We're gonna look at it and say, what did we learn about it and how do we make the adjustments now? So is your goal still achievable? And this is a real question that I want you to ask yourself. Can you still hit the goal? Not maybe, not like with certainty. Could you look at that goal and say, I still can hit it. I know I can. And then if you can, great. Do we still have the right plan in place? And are we properly scheduled for it? If not, what were the roadblocks that you didn't anticipate? What got in the way? What were the roadblocks, right? Because there's things, again, like we all went into December business planning, like, yay, and then the clock turned at midnight, and we all were brand new people, we were shiny, happy new people, and then things happened along the way. So what were the roadblocks, and how do we clear them out of the way, or how do we better plan for them? And then is a strategy, if it's not, is a strategy shift in order? And are you focused on the right activities? So do we need to shift our strategy? Is what we're doing working? If the answer is yes, then keep doing it. Because here's the other thing that tends to happen if we hit this point of the year and people are way ahead, and I actually see it after Q1 a lot. People be like, man, I always have such a slow January and February. My business was on fire. And then they kind of just like disappear for a minute. They go on vacation and they let their foot off the gas and all those things, and that's fine if that's your plan. But look at your strategies and decide if you've got the right strategies in place, and then are you focused in the right activities? And then how are you going to measure that you're continuing to do those? Because we hear a lot like, "Oh, I have the right plan. I just need a plan. I just need a time block for it." I hear this a lot. I just need a time block for it. So was it not in your calendar before? Well, it was. Okay, so is it a matter of time blocking or is it a matter of protecting the time block? Because those are two different things. If you tell me, well, it's in my calendar. I had an agent one time, this was years ago. And he was part-time agent, fine. And his goal was seriously like $1 million GCI. I was like, show me how we're gonna get there. Show me the game plan. Show me your calendar that's gonna match this. And it was like 2 hours of lead gen twice a week and doing an open house. I was like, your plan will not equal this. You can be the very best agent in the world, and this amount of time will not equal this result. So the strategy needed to shift, and the activities needed to change, or the goal needed to change. Because he could follow his plan to a T. He could be as perfect as possible. But if it was not the right activity, it was not going to result in the goal. Right? So this is where it helps. What? Yes.
We would all been millionaires.
This is where it really helps for you to have a little cash talk with yourself. You can call it a cash talk. I call it a come to Jesus. But cash stands for, is it a knowledge? Is it attitude? Is it skill set? Or is it a habit? When was the last time you had a cash talk with yourself? So if you're thinking through your strategies, if you're thinking about your activities, have a little cash talk.
Attitude,
Knowledge?
skill set.
Do you need to learn something else? Is it your attitude? Is it a skill set that you need to learn? Or is it a habit that you need to get into? If I had to guess what most people's problem is, yeah. It's right here. It's our habits. We know what we need to be doing. We have the right attitude because we're excited about what we're doing and we know why we want to hit our goals. If we've got our skill set, maybe we need to improve on it. I mean, it's shocking to me how few people actually want to work on their skill sets, but most of it is the habit. We're not in the habit of doing the things that we need to do every day that we know we're going to work. If we want to be in better health, we know by moving our body every day, that's a good habit that we should probably be in, but how many of us don't do it? Or we give excuses or reasons or whatever. So think through that. Am I out of time? Oh, I was like, am I out? Okay, sorry. Guys, trying to use a real watch, so I'm trying to be less distracted. And I just got sidetracked for 1 second. So don't just default to changing the goal, do a reality check, and then you get to decide what you're going to do from there. So action is going to be required from this point forward. There's a lot of great tools that we can use, but we've got to look at today. So we're going to reset our goal, and maybe that's just saying, okay, I have this amount. Here's my gap between now and the end of the year that I need to do. And we're going to identify our key lead measures. We're going to do the activities, because remember, a lead is is what we do to have the lag show up. So lead measures might be things like lead generate. We're going to have to do those types of activities. And then our lag measures show up, and then we need to take the time to measure our results and keep score. So this is where I really am going to encourage you to lean into the 411 or some other type of accountability tool. You can do it through command. You can have an accountability buddy that you guys text each other every night, the progress that you made on your goals, whatever you want that to be. But you have to measure the results, because if 30 days from now we've reset and established our goals and we've identified our key measures and we're doing all the activities, but our lag measures aren't showing up, it's time for us to evaluate. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to show up. And this is where somebody else in your world with you to be able to say, like, hey, Dalton, I've been doing these activities. I'm not seeing the results yet. Give me some hints. Tell me what I need to do. This is somebody that can help you look at it to say, like, well, actually, I think you just need to give it a little bit of time. Like, one of your big things was farming. Did you know that's 12 to 18 months before you're going to see any results? So you can't give up after 1 month. So we're measuring the results. Then we evaluate the process and we make little tweaks. If I can give you any piece of advice, it is do not throw the baby out with the bathwater every single time and start over. I see so many people I'm going to blow everything up. I'm starting over. Take one thing at a time and make the adjustments to the one thing that you know is going to work, tweak it, and then go back through the process again. doing the activities, measuring the results, evaluating how it's showing up, and then making adjustments again as needed. We get really excited about new things. We're really ready to just get rid of everything. We're going to just blow up everything and start over. Sometimes it's just a tweak of a calendar timing. Hey, at this time of day, I never get my lead gen in, but that's where it's in on my calendar. We'll then move it to somewhere else on your calendar. Maybe there's a different time of day that works better for you. And you know consistently, 95% of the time you can show up at that time to do it, but this other time isn't going to work. So make sure that you're evaluating that, holding yourself accountable to stay on track. This is the 411. We've already talked about this last week. If you guys don't remember, it's for your annual goals, monthly goals, weekly goals. We're going to put together a monthly 411 mastermind where you can come in, work on your 411 for the month. If you want to have an accountability buddy that you guys check in weekly with each other to see how did you do on your weekly goals, that's what you need to do. That's great. I also want you to do, I'm not going to go there yet. So along this one thing, evaluate that you're getting in the most important things. One other graph from the one thing that is really powerful is like a circle of your whole day of time. And it's cut in half. And like this whole area should be for your one thing. And then this is everything else. If we know that our one thing to hit our goal is lead generation, so we really hate it. Are we gonna find other things to do?
You have everything to do.
You're gonna find everything to do. So this is where it's really important to have a follow-up plan, somebody that you're following up with, somebody that you're checking in with. And how are you allocating your time towards the one thing that you need to do? A couple things of productivity, the 4 things that get in the way of any goals. Number 1 is your inability to say no. We talked about this with your 401. What did you say?
I was gonna say kids.
Oh, kids. Inability to say no to kids.
Can't say hell yes.
If you can't say hell yes, you have to say hell no. And
I
I've been trying
have
to
done
work with
that 4
Stephanie on
times
this.
this
If
week.
it's not something you're really excited about, guys, there is so much stuff that gets put in our world that we're just not even that excited about, but we have an inability to say no to it. Does that get you off track in all these areas? If you're saying yes to too many things in work, is that going to interfere with your key relationships?
Yes.
Bet your ass it will. Is that going to interfere with your health?
Okay.
Also, yes. Is it going to interfere with your finances, your spiritual life, your goals, your
All of
personal
it.
life, all of those things? If you have the inability to say no, it's going to interfere with everything else. So that's one of the number 1 things that keep people off track. Poor health habits. If we feel like crap, it's really hard to show up every day at a high level. It's just a proven fact. Jen.
Playing on what you just said there, one of my favorite books you guys listen to on Audible, it's called Healthy Brain, Happy Life. And it's by her Healthy Brain, Happy Life by Wendy Suzuki. She's a neuroscientist or something like that. And she talks about all the scientific evidence of basically how to live your best life. If you don't have these other things in mind, you're not going to thrive on your business anyway, because keeping these other things important in your life too does help your brain to be more clear and positive, focused to spill over into your business and your financial goals. So all of that is important. It's a great book.
Yep.
And also, yeah.
That goes back to the poor health habits. We have poor health habits. It's going to be really hard for us to be successful and to keep our goals. The fear of chaos is one of the number 1 things that gets in the way of people because they're so fearful for giving things away because they're afraid that if they're not doing it, it's not going to get done. So there's a fear of chaos. We have to be able to embrace that a little bit. And then not being in an environment that doesn't support, and then being in an environment that doesn't support your goals are 4 things that get in the way of that. The other thing that I want you to think through is re-looking at your whole vision. You know, we kind of talk about reevaluating this, but looking at the vision of why the goal was important to you, and are you clear on the vision? You have clarity around the vision of where you want to go, and it may not be something that you can achieve in 6 months. Going back to when we say, are you willing to do, when you look at this person's life, are you willing to do what that took to get there? And you may say, no, that's not actually, I'm not willing to do that in 6 months, but over the next 18 months, I can chip away at it and I can get closer to it. So just being clear on your vision and then having a plan and taking action. Because the biggest thing that I see is we come into these classes and we get a lot of good ideas and we're excited about it and we take notes. And then what do you do from there? And I think that sometimes that happens because people get overwhelmed. And so they're just like, I don't want to have to redo everything, so I'm just gonna come in and do nothing. Pick one thing. The one thing that's gonna make everything else easier or unnecessary. Pick one thing. And that's all you gotta do. Just have one thing. You can't wake up tomorrow and say, I want to lose 100 pounds and expect that in 30 days you are going to have lost 100 pounds. Even in 6 months. It might be a year from now, but could you do one thing today that's going to get you closer to that goal? Same thing with running. You guys, like when you run, other than Kaylee, who's some kind of super, but when you start running, if you're going to do distance running and you've never ran before, you can't walk out your door and run 26 miles that day. You got to walk out your door and you're hoping that you're going to make it to the street lamp at the end of the street. And that's going to be your goal, that one thing that you keep doing. And then you're going to go to the next one and the next one. And before you know it, you've gone a mile and then you've gone 3 and then you're going 4. And it's just, it builds up, but you can't walk out the door and run a marathon that day. So pick one thing that you can take from today and start to implement it and move forward with it. Now, just some real quick, I want to go through just really quickly some of the things that I want you to do. And part of this too, this was mostly on the mindset piece of it. Think up to yourself if you didn't win the day, because a lot of times we go, well, we sucked today, we're going to start fresh Monday. It's only Tuesday, guys. How many of you have done that? I ate like crap today, I'm going to start my diet fresh Monday. I didn't do my lead gen today, I'm going to start Monday. And it's going to be time blocked, I'm going to do it for 4 hours. Has anyone ever said that to yourself? If you didn't win today, stop and consider it. You were gathering evidence and then get back at it. So stop and say, what got in my way? This is something that I'm doing right now. With some people that I hold accountable in our organization, and they have a tracker that every day they're tracking the amount of attempts at conversations they make, the amount of actual conversations that they have. So they're tracking attempts, they're tracking conversations, they're tracking appointments set, and then actual appointments held. And at the end of every day, the most important piece is they're putting in there to say, did I win today or did I have a challenge? What got in my way? If I didn't hit my goal today of how many people I was going to talk to, what got in the way? Because now we can evaluate the roadblocks. And if we go, well, we know every single Tuesday, you're going to talk to 4 people instead of the 30 that you talk to on Monday. Do we need to shift some things on Monday to give you more time allocated to those conversations? And maybe Tuesday just becomes about connection and it doesn't involve a tracking piece because now we have a pattern. But we can't look at that if at the end of the week we're like, we got nothing done, but we don't know why or how. If we're tracking like, man, today was perfect. Here's how I got into the zone. Here's what today looked like. Because now we know, just like Dalton said, now if we know, we can go back and replicate it. We're like, okay, on a perfect day, I came in early. I had good sleep the night before. I worked out in the morning, so my brain was fresh. My body was tired. I came in, I locked my door for the first 2 hours, and I busted out these 3 most important things. And then the rest of the day, I had to do these things. Now I know what winning looks like. So if I know if I go to bed late, I don't wake up on time, I don't have my exercise in the morning, I don't lock my door, I let the God minutes get in my way, and now I'm looking at it and I'm evaluating it again, and I'm saying, well, I can see where I got off track. But if you're not taking the time to evaluate it, you don't know what happens. You don't know where you're at, you don't know why you got there, and you don't know how to replicate it or to change it for the next day. Does that make sense? So as you're thinking through what you want to do for the rest of the year, a couple things I want you to do, and you guys are not going to like this because every time I start talking budget, everybody gets all squirmy in their seats. I want you to look at the budget that you set in at the beginning of the year. You guys did a budget model. You knew how much you were supposed to be spending on each thing. Are you getting the return on investment that you thought on that investment? And if not, it's probably time to play red light and green light again with our expenses. So print out all the things you spend and get some highlighters and have a little art project and go through and highlight the things like, yes, this is money. I'm so happy I spent it. I'm getting the exact return on it. And you are probably going to find things in your business expenses and probably your personal expenses too, You're gonna find things in your business expenses that you're gonna go, man, I signed up for this 2 years ago. I've been paying for it. I've gotten no return on it. But I keep doing it every month. It might be a good time to evaluate if that money that was allocated in this bucket should drop into this bucket, that you're getting a way better return on than what you thought. Right? So it's a great time to evaluate your budget model. If you didn't do a budget at the end of last year or the beginning of this year, it's okay. Guess what? Start a budget that starts July 15th till the end of the year. How much are you going to spend from now till then? And how much revenue do you need to generate? And what is that going to look like from those expenses points? So take the time to evaluate and decide if you're spending things in the right way. And then when you're looking at your economic model, remember your like the things that are important to be tracking. You've got to know how many conversations you're having. Why? Because the conversations are going to convert to appointments. And appointments convert to contracts, and contracts convert to closings. So if you haven't been tracking this, and it's okay, there's a lot of people that don't. I'm going to encourage you, just whatever you can do to start tracking, because it's easier if you know that it takes 30 conversations to get one appointment. It's easier to go, if I have to have 2 appointments this week, I have to have 60 conversations. Now we know what that looks like.
Could go one deeper too with that. Evaluate what environment you're having the conversations in. Yeah, phone calls with SOI, I give myself a lot more leeway on converting that into business, because it comes, it goes, it's part of it. But like, when I can go have 3 people stop by an open house and set 1 appointment at that open house, that's where I want to live.
Yeah. And it's being able to evaluate that, right? Because if you know that you're like, okay, well, I door knock once a week, but you've never gotten a lead from door knocking. Door knocking takes more time, it's more energy. If you've never gotten a lead for it, but you're getting leads by talking to SLI, or you're getting leads for doing open houses, or whatever it is, identify those sources and your conversion rates on it, right? Because your economic model is how many conversations equal an appointment, how many appointments do you have to go on to equal a signed contract, and then track your contract to close rate. Are there things that fall through? Has anyone had a buyer this year that just decided they weren't going to buy it? Or you had a listing contract and then you went live and whatever happened and they didn't end up selling the house. We've all had contracts that fall through. If you know those numbers, you can plan for them. You're prepared for them, right? So if you know that you have to go on 5 appointments to get 4 contracts signed, then you know if you have 20 contracts that you need to have signed, you have to go on, what is that, 25 appointments to get your 20 no, my brain's getting all sideways. Hold please, if I gotta go on.
I think that's about right.
That's about right. You've got to go on, no, you've got to go on about 100. So if you were converting, if you needed 25 contracts signed, you'd have to go on 100 appointments if you were converting it. You have to go on 100 total appointments to get 25 contracts signed. That's 25 times 5 appointments. Oh no, 25 times 5. No, that's right, 20 times 4.
I think a big part of it too is where are these leads coming from? It's a lot better turnaround if it's your SLI or people you've met with.
Well, and it depends, right? It depends on what your skill set is, right? So going back to this, like, knowledge, attitude, skill set, habits, I have people that are way better and they closed way more deals out of online leads than they did out of their personal SOI last year. So it depends on your personal situation. Jenny, you're in an area, you're established, people know who you are, they know where you live, they know your work, like they know who you are. If you're someone new to the area, you may not have an SOI that's established in a way, and you may be choosing between online lead conversion, door knocking, or open houses.
But you still have to do both.
So it depends on what you're doing, right? And it's developing the relationships, but you've got to be able to understand the numbers. And then from appointments to contracts, and then contracts to close. So if you know that 70% of your contracts close, they result in a closing, then out of every 10 contracts that you sign, you can only count on 7 of them actually closing. And you can't, and you have a goal for 20, you can't just take 20 contracts if you have a goal for 20 closings. You have to take more contracts because you know 30% of them are going to fall through. And if you track that, You're gonna get better at being able to figure out the differences. And then here's the other thing. It's also kind of nice when you're tracking it and you go, oh, you know what, that's okay. I knew I was gonna have 30% of these fall out this year. If we have a full pipeline, if we have things that we're planning, if we're anticipating what's gonna happen with our business, then it's easier for us to be able to move forward and not get emotionally attached to everything. We don't walk in with commission breath because we know that that was gonna happen. We were gonna have some fall through, right? And we're gonna do our best to keep them all together. If you ever need someone to help give CPR to a deal, call me, because I'm pretty good at like revitalizing the deals that everyone thinks is dead. Like, I'll help you do CPR, but also it takes a little bit of it away when you're just like, oh yeah, you know what? It's okay. I planned for this. I budgeted for this. And actually I'm ahead because I have only had one fall through this whole year so far. So I'm ahead of what I had planned, right? But if you don't know your numbers, you have no idea. If 50% of your transactions are going from contract, if only 50% are going contract to close, you have a problem. You have a contract to close problem. You have a transaction problem. So you need to figure that out. If you're having 100 conversations to get one appointment, you probably need to look at the conversations you're having because you probably need to have a different conversation. What you're saying is not resonating, or you're not giving the message in a way that's resonating with people to give you. Right? So it also helps you dissect when we're talking about a game plan. It helps you dissect where are the areas that you really need work. Right? Because if I can give anybody leads, I do, like you see people all the time, they get the exact same leads. And some people say,
They're great. Some people say they suck.
some people say these leads are shit. These are crappy leads. Nobody ever answers. All I'm getting is mobile home leads. And guess what? I have other people that are closing double their SOI business with lead business, and they're the exact same leads, guys. All in how you learn how to convert. It's a different skill set, right? So that's going to be a focus. You've got to figure out how to focus on that piece. Jen.
I was listening to this dating podcast. And it's good, it pertains to everything. How do you find the needle in the haystack? You set the haystack on fire. You gotta burn through all the leaves to find that needle.
I love that.
Little arson.
That's cheesy. Right? Set the haystack on fire. Love it. And find it though, aren't you?
Light it on fire.
Yep. Okay, so last thing I want to mention is, so we've talked about your budget, we've talked about the economic model, talked about your mindset, we've talked about evaluation. I want you to look at your organizational chart. If you guys remember that, that's the little one with all the circles, and it says, here's you. And then if you have like an admin or TC, that's a bubble of your organization chart that answers to you. It's a good time at 6 months to evaluate your organization chart. Maybe you overhired and you don't actually need somebody full-time. Is now a good time to make that decision? Or do you want to wait till next year when you're trying to look at your budget again and you went through this 6 more months of paying or whatever, right? So this is a really good time as you're evaluating all this, as you're looking through this. Also just take a peek at your org chart and say, am I still on track with what I need? You guys, you might be able to run a really big business with just you and a great admin. It might be time to leverage. It might be time for you to pull back a little leverage. That goes right back into your budget conversation, right? If you hired based on a goal of 100 transactions and you're not even close and you're not getting there and your admin's not getting you any closer, it's probably a good time to evaluate if that's money well spent, because that's your budget. And it's also your organization chart, because you may not need somebody full-time, or maybe you do. Maybe you hired somebody transactionally and you're like, I've got somebody transactionally, but I still need all of these things done. And I need to hire somebody. And guess what? You can also have what looks like an org chart for your life. It might be time for you to start leveraging in your life too. Maybe it's time to start looking at, do you have someone come and clean your house because you don't want to spend the time doing that? And that gives you leverage. Maybe that's the hire that you need to make this year. Right? Maybe you are like, I'm fine to do daily, but I hate doing floors. I want someone to come once a week and do my floors, whatever that looks like. You can use an org chart in your life too, in a way, right? How do you leverage in those areas? Maybe you don't need somebody necessarily to be helping every single day in your business, but maybe that person becomes kind of a hybrid where they're also picking up your dry cleaning and picking up your grocery order because you just realized that you're getting ripped off by Instacart, even though it's your favorite thing. But maybe you need someone to just pick up the order. Maybe you need someone to meal prep for you. Maybe like whatever that looks like, maybe that's a leverage piece you need. And that person becomes a help over both areas. Okay, so take the time. It's a great time to do it. There's still a lot of time left to affect the year. right? Like, we don't have to just go, we didn't hit our goal this year. Or we don't have to go, we crushed our goal and now we get to let off the gas. We get to just evaluate and just say, where are we at? Are we on track? Are we excited and proud of where we're going? And it's okay to shift your strategy. In some circumstances, it's okay to change your goal, but there has to be a reason behind it. I don't want you to just give up on your goal and just say, well, I'm not gonna hit my goal, so this year's crap. I'm gonna light it on fire.
And find the needle.
Find the needle, right? And maybe that is like, maybe the next few months is you lighting something on fire. Maybe you've got some glass balls that dropped and you're trying to like glue them back together. And that's gonna take some time away. And maybe that's where your focus is gonna be. And it might be in your business, it might be your personal life, or it might be personally, or your key relationships, or whatever it is. But if you don't take the time to evaluate it and know where you're at, it's gonna be really hard to get where you're wanting to go. Okay, anything else that you guys want to add in on this? Was that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, is everybody gonna actually take some time to do that this?
Yes.
Yes. I see a few notes. Thanks for those of you that see your video. I would love if you do this. I'll even give you till next week. If you text me and tell me that you did it, I'll put you in a separate drawing for next. Because I really think it's important. I think it's one of the most important things you can do right now for your business and actually for your personal life. Because I think there was a lot of this going on for a long time, and we kind of went into a little cycle. And I think there's people starting to poke their heads up and look around, and we're like, oh man, the world looks different. And so take the time for your personal life too, because they both are really important. I'm sharing.
Well, Monday is the 15th, so I'm just. Appreciate the challenge. What I was gonna add earlier actually is I think if people don't reset their year based on other factors being August 25th and 23, when the rates tripled in August 17th this year, if they're not already looking forward of how they're gonna navigate the next shift and already plan for that, it's like planning on a bad conversion rate or planning deals dropping out. Those are two major factors that people may not have included when they plan their year. Just think it's going to be a typical year for those two reasons. It's not going to be a typical year through the rest of the year for sure. And then the item that Steph shared about, asking questions, don't ever hesitate in regards to like maybe what did someone do, but also future questions of how do you plan on navigating till the end of the year and beyond with the changes.
Yeah.
And sustaining, not just surviving.
Yeah.
And the third one that I just love that you pointed out a little bit after Jenny's thing, but not as much, that I love the exercise that you guys do where Jenny was talking about like, what's the one thing that you love doing, but also, maybe what's the one lead source. Well, if you haven't gone back and tracked, which I don't know why in all the years I never thought about it until you had us all on the huge whiteboard another time, with literally looking at where in the past year, while your leads come in, while your closings come in, it might totally surprise you that even what you like doing or are passionate about doing isn't actually what's bringing in your top 3 highest lead sources. And just to be aware, like, OMG, didn't realize, even though I love doing this is actually factually where the majority of my closings are coming from.
So true. By the way, if this is not part of at least your year-end process, implement it now. Look at your business. You look at the last 12 months, look at the last 18 months, look at whatever time frame makes sense for you. I know there's a lot of people who are like, I just said forget it I was just gonna like put a black cloud around 2021 because I don't know. Great. So if you don't want to look at that, go back to 2018. Go to wherever, however far back you feel like gives you a good sample size. If this year you're like, this year's an anomaly, I'm way ahead of my goals, still take the time to evaluate where are the leads coming from, because they're coming from somewhere. And I think that's a really good point. Dalton, I know you and I did this activity years ago where we said, where are we spending our time? And you're sitting down and you're looking and saying, when you really look at where the deals came from that closed, what were they? Because guys, we spend a lot of time spinning our wheels on things that are not going to get to a closing table, right? We just do. It's just part of what it is, because in our heads, we're busy or we're doing something or we're getting the leads. I have an agent who's like, it's not even our agent, it's a different agent, but I think it's like he's spending all this money on Zillow leads and he's got so many leads. And I'm like, well, you're the no-brainer. Cut your lead spend. If you're getting all these leads, but they're not going anywhere, or you're not doing anything with them because you can't convert them, cut your lead spend or give them to somebody else. Take the lead spend and put it back into, are these activities like, did you get a lot of referrals from your SOI, and you can pin it back to these exact 4 activities that you did throughout the year. Put more money into that, but take the time to know where your business comes from.
And reevaluate, are you looking at seller business or buyer business? Because if you're just getting buyer leads and you think that's where your previous business is, but are you also evaluating, are you a strong person to communicate your value moving forward?
Yep.
Are you gonna be able to convert and get contract signed to even be in business with a buyer? Or do you need to shift your focus? If people aren't getting right on that, they're gonna have a stark change and have to do a reset in August again.
This is so true, and I think that there are so many people that are like, I'll just deal with it then, it's not gonna be that big of a deal. Guys, I think if you're not planning for at least a few bumps in the road, I don't think it's gonna be as dramatic as some people think. But there are several, I mean, there's brokerages that are telling their brokerage, plan on half your income next year. Because they're really that convinced that 50% of their commission, especially if they're buy side heavy, that 50% of that commission is gonna go away. And not 100% buy side, but they're really literally planning for 50% of the buyer gross commission income that they had in 2024 going away in 2025. So I'm not suggesting that that's what you should plan for, but I would rather have you plan for a lower average commission and crush it because you're so great at portraying your value and negotiating the deal. Guys, I hate to say it, there's just gonna be some buyers that you're working with that will not be able to pay you 3% or 5% or 7 or 8 or whatever you're gonna charge. Or that won't sign it. So there's gonna be some situations that maybe they love you. Maybe you're the best thing that could ever come along since like sliced bread for them. But if you can't negotiate that part of the commission into the deal, and they don't physically have the money to pay you, like, what are you gonna do? You've got to have some game plans around this. So I think I would rather you prepare for the worst and have it be a way better outcome than what you think than not prepare at all.
And it's even, honestly, I'm excited to think about who are some of the most killer buyer agents that we have, or, people that just are working a ton of, and they're getting them, they're converting, they're signing, I would almost rather work still more focusing on listings and refer off even my buyers. I'm just saying, it's a different shift that everybody has to think through what is gonna be their business plan.
And if you want to be on the buyer side of Sherry's referrals, you better do a good job and be able to convert them and hold a high level conversation and explain your value. And if that's not something you've historically had to do with buyers, it is time to prepare now. You've got to be ready because people are going to ask you. It's a way different conversation. People are going to ask you, well, how do you get paid? And if you can't really articulate how they're going to pay you, or if you're stumbling through it, it's going to be a problem for you. So you've got to be able to have the conversation because I'm telling you right now, I'm seeing it already. People discounting the crap out of themselves. So you're going to see the guy, you're going to be competing against someone who's like scarcity and goes, well, it's $1,000 I didn't have. I'll just do it for $1,000 for you.
Then how much?
Well, if I'm charging $11,000 because that's my percent that I charge and someone else is going to do 1,000, I better be really confident in my value that I'm going to bring. And I better exceed their expectations because I actually think you're still going to rise. Like the cream is going to rise. And that is going to be the people, it's going to be the people who are really ready. Yep. To do it. Because I do think you'll see some of that again.
That's all I'm emphasizing is like to just be aware and evaluate where your business has been coming from and percentages on list to buy side. Because someone potentially could pick up way more list side just by having more conversations with their SLI or on social.
Yeah, and also, I mean, today wasn't a good example because we didn't have a ton of new listings coming up, but like last week, the board was stuffed full with listings. And that tells me people are, I think that the last few months we had a great June, we had a great July. I mean, honestly, this year has been better than we anticipated. We were like hunkering down in our hurricane shelter for Q1, right? Like we were concerned about what this year was going to look like. And by focusing on the right things, we've exceeded what we thought we were going to do, which is great. And there's not a lot of people that are in that same boat or saying that same thing. And I think it really just comes down to that, like being really solid in what we're doing and how we know and what is our plan and where are we going with it. And just being able to do the activities you need to do to get there. So anything else?
Look at that pretty picture.
Oh, this is an old picture I need to get. Today's sponsor is Cutco, and Tara is not here today. She got delayed on a flight, So if you, I think you can still do this though, text your full name and email to this phone number. She still had lunch delivered. But text your name and email to that phone number. And you'll be entered for a giveaway for a piece of Cutco. If anybody has got Cutco before, you know. So anyway, text your info, she'll do a drawing, and then lunch is here provided by them. Okay, anything else?
If you have questions, text her the word sharp and she'll give you all the info too, so.
They can engrave them with your name, whatever you want them to look like.
I've never wanted to order a knife, but they're kind of pretty. They are,
You
okay.
never wanted to order good knives until you've had good knives, and then you're like, wait, I need better knives. Then you're like, and your knife's not.
That sounds really expensive.
Okay, Mike, did you decide gift? 75 thread, did you decide
Yeah, I'll take the one.
one thing? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's such a good audible too, if you guys can do that. Hey, don't forget about 75 Drive. Okay. What do you want to do?